On this edition of Southern Newsweek, the government announces the nation's budget for the coming year. It's all about kai moana at the Bluff Oyster Festival, and Southern Paralympians have been selected to represent the nation in Tokyo this year. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. Finance Minister Grant Robinson has unveiled his fourth budget. In pre-budget announcements, he said this year's Estimates and Appropriations Bill won't be a lolly scramble. However, the redevelopment of his southern industry is set to be on track as part of a $25 billion budget.
Dunedin's beleaguered manufacturing sector is set to receive a major boost in the government's budget.
Budget 2021 continues our significant investment in rail. A total of $810 million is allocated to purchase new locomotives and wagons and upgrade existing stock, adding to the more than $4 billion we put into rail over the last term of government. We are also fulfilling a commitment of the Labour government to rebuild manufacturing in New Zealand. The rail allocation includes $85 million to build a local wagon assembly facility at the Hillside Workshops in South Dunedin.
The funding will see the workshop assembling more than 1,000 wagons, confirming leaked documents from Kiwi Rail.
The facility will initially assemble 1,500 wagons, creating jobs and opportunities for apprenticeships, and for the first time in decades, create some onshore resilience in our rail sector.
Kiwi Rail predicted it would create an estimated 150 construction jobs, 40 to 50 assembly jobs, and up to $21 million in indirect and direct economic benefits. During the budget debate, current Leader of the Opposition Judith Collins compared the $85 million investment into Hillside with an older-style child's construction toy.
They could have incentivised firms to invest in new technology and upgrade to more productive equipment. Instead, today all we heard of was 19th century technology and no plans for building technology for the future. They could have invested in infrastructure that would actually get the economy moving. Instead, there's Meccano lessons now going to be held in Dunedin to put together presumably Chinese-made products.
In her rebuttal speech, Collins says the budget did nothing for average working New Zealanders.
But I'm sorry that under this government and this budget, New Zealand is going to lose more nurses, more teachers and more engineers, and they'll lose them to Australia.
Despite the Finance Minister describing the budget ahead of time as not a lolly scramble, the total value of the Estimates and Appropriations Bill is $25 billion. In Dunedin, the South Today.
People from all over the country descended on the South for the annual Bluff Oyster and Food Festival. As well as dining on the delicacies, attendees got to watch the experts race to open oysters, with one participant hoping to win the ladies' title for the 10th successive time.
About 4,500 people from all across New Zealand turned up to attend the annual Bluff Oyster and Food Festival, with planes even chartered to fly seafood lovers down from Auckland for the event. One of the biggest crowd pleasers of the day was the various oyster opening competitions, with shuckers proving they could even do it blindfolded. Veteran oyster shucker Vic Pearcey of Barnes Wild Bluff Oysters was looking likely to win the ladies' opening race for the 10th time in a row, but admitted beforehand that winning didn't really matter.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter win or lose, it's just a great day. As you can see, the openers over there, we all have a good time and just enjoy ourselves, yeah.
Each year, festival goers consume about 20,000 oysters on the day, and Pearcey says the competition gives a chance to show the country the skills required to get the crustaceans out of their shell.
It's just where we get to show off our boutique industry, I guess you'd call it, you know, it's such a delicacy.
The day saw Pearcey win the ladies' opening race in a time of just under 3 minutes, a little way off her personal best of 2 minutes 46. But the day wasn't over yet, with the first ever women against men race in the festival's history.
I definitely want to get in there and beat those men, and if I don't, it doesn't matter, but I will not go down without a fight.
In the end, Pearcey lost to fellow oyster shucker Ricky Grant in a mere 15 seconds. She says she's happy having won the women's title 10 times in a row and plans to call it a day.
I've done my time now, so it's time to retire and let someone else have a go.
Next year's Bluff Oyster and Food Festival is set for the 21st of May. In Bluff, the South Today.
Otago Paralympic duo Anna Grimaldi and Holly Robinson have been confirmed in the New Zealand team for the Tokyo Games. The Paralympics had been set for last year, but was postponed to August 24th this year due to COVID-19, and will run alongside the Olympics.
Two Southern-based Paralympians are aiming high at this year's Tokyo Olympic Games after securing places in the Games team.
What does it mean to be selected for my third Paralympic Games? It's really exciting. So this will be my third Games, and each time's really special, and it's also really special to have those announcements like today that we are selected along with my teammates as well.
These two tours are completely different for me. Last time I was just fresh, I was green, I didn't know what I was doing really. I was excited to be there, I was becoming a Paralympian for the first time, and that'll never happen again, so that was an awesome experience in itself. I'd just gone from PB to another PB on the day.
In Anna Grimaldi and Holly Robinson, New Zealand and Otago have two strong medal contenders. Grimaldi, who was born without a right hand, won gold in Rio 5 years ago in the T47 long jump.
And then in between then and now, I had a massive setback with a huge injury, and that sort of changed me as a person and made me grow, and I'm a better athlete because of it.
Robinson, who has a single limb deficiency, won silver in Rio in the F46 javelin. It's one of 5 silver medals she's won at pinnacle events, having been pipped by longtime British rival Holly Arnold. And Robinson says she's fighting fit.
I had a really good domestic season, which I was super stoked with. I had a bit of a blip where I did break my finger, so it was a little bit frustrating in that fact, but I ended it really well. So I'm in probably one of the best forms that I believe I've been in for a long time, and so I'm really excited about that. A
third Otago para athlete many would have expected to see has announced her retirement from the sport at age 30. Shot putter Jess Gillen, who won bronze in the F34 shot put at the Rio Games, revealed she's 15 weeks pregnant with twins and so has pulled out of competitions despite qualifying. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A recently installed platform is reducing the risk to Port Otago workers. The $100,000 project is specifically designed for Port Otago and allows workers to step straight from the platform onto the straddle carriers.
A new, specially designed platform is making Port Otago a little safer. The platform has been implemented to prevent mechanics from having to climb up straddle carrier ladders, which range from 11 to 14 metres in height. Port Otago Maintenance Manager Matt Eves says the new platforms reduce the workers' risk and allows them to access the carriers more easily.
So the maintainers used to climb up the vertical ladder of the machine to access the top. If they were taking parts or equipment up there to do any testing, then it used to be quite cumbersome and would result in taking backpacks or something. Now they can access via the stairwell and go directly onto the machine via the new platforms.
The straddle carriers are responsible for moving containers off trucks and trains and onto ships. The new setup uses smart technology to ensure the straddle is up against the platform and only unlocks the access gate if the straddle is in the correct place.
We engaged the draftsman to come up with the concept for us. We did have to extend the platforms off existing structure within the workshop. We then engaged Action Engineering to finish off the final design piece and build and install it for us. They've done a great job.
The $100,000 project was signed off last November, with installation starting in February. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, Southerners had the opportunity to learn more about the tectonic plate movement, and Dunedin's cats can be forgiven for feeling a little chipper following a recent campaign. So catch this and more after the break. Welcome back. Southlanders have been able to learn more about the region's biggest natural hazard. About 100 people attended a travelling roadshow, which explains the potential risk from an earthquake along the Alpine Fault.
A crowd turned up for the Invercargill leg of the Science Beneath Our Feet tour, which is run as a collaboration between the science community and civil defence. Organiser Alice Lake Hammond says the tour helps the public become more aware of the seismic hazards presented by the Alpine Fault.
It's an opportunity to share what we do know about the Alpine Fault and also some great ideas around how we can be better prepared for those impacts of the next Alpine Fault earthquake. So in a setting where community also have an opportunity to ask questions and understand what that means for them.
While scientists can't predict when earthquakes occur, research has shown that the Alpine Fault has a history of generating regular, large earthquakes, with the next major one likely to occur within the lifetime of most of us.
The Alpine Fault is our largest natural hazard here in the South Island. It's has potential to have quite a large event that will affect all of us. Everyone here in the South Island will feel this event and we'll all experience impacts, either direct or indirect, from that.
The tour started 11 weeks ago and finished on Tuesday, having visited 14 towns and 15 schools. Lake Hammond says the roadshow chooses speakers with specific expertise for each South Island region.
So when we're in Kaikoura, we have different speakers who've been involved in the Kaikoura earthquake response. In Blenheim, we had a speaker who could also speak to the Hikarangi subduction zone and the tsunami risk that poses, so that we're really able to answer those questions at a local level and provide people with information that is of most relevance to them.
The roadshow finished at Northern Southland College in Lumsden. In Southland, the South Today.
Work is underway to lay a series of underwater power cables across Otago Harbour. Once completed, a number of overhead lines spanning the harbour can be removed, making the area safer for both rescue helicopters and bird life.
Divers help out with a cable-laying barge on Otago Harbour to lay the first of 2 new high-voltage power cables that will run almost 2 kilometres between Port Chalmers and Portobello. Project manager Ben Bulling says the new cables will replace a current submarine cable as well as overhead lines that were installed over 60 years ago.
Currently we have an overhead line which goes between Port Chalmers and Portobello, and also a submarine cable that was installed in 1947. Both of these assets are getting towards the end of their serviceable life, so we want to be proactive and replace that now to ensure that we don't get too many failures in the future.
The overhead lines to the peninsula will remain live and won't be removed until the reliability of the new cables is assessed later this year. Once the lines are gone, it will be safer for both rescue helicopters operating in the harbour as well as seabirds striking the wires.
Amazing opportunity to remove an overhead line, which is something we don't get to do very often. So it is an exciting project from that aspect.
Bulling says the new cables should last well towards the end of this century.
The new cable generally got a 50 to 80 year life as well, so we hope to get some good longevity out of that. So, and that's what makes it a once-in-a-lifetime project, is that, we don't replace these cables very often.
A third 400-metre cable at a lower voltage is set to be laid between Portobello and Quarantine Island. In Dunedin, the South Today.
30 Dunedin cats are now more easily traceable, thanks to a new initiative which is microchipping the city's cats. The Halo project is aimed at further protecting native birds from predation.
Some Dunedin cats could be forgiven for feeling just a little chipped. 9-week-old Comet is one of around 50 cats who had microchips implanted yesterday. Otago Polytechnic lecturer Vicky Litchford leads the team doing the work and says chipping cats means they're easy to trace.
We're working in partnership with the Halo project to microchip the cats of Dunedin to promote responsible cat ownership. So we're promoting ability to trace cats back to their owners if they are brought into the vet practice or lost or straying, so that we can get the owners connected back with their cats as quickly as possible.
Project spokeswoman Nikki Bold says the free microchipping service has been oversubscribed. Last night's session and next month's follow-up at the Polytechnic are both full. Litchford says there's a team of academics and students taking part.
So tonight our drive is looking at microchipping 57 cats, working with my fellow lecturer Catherine Rice and our lovely students who are studying diploma in veterinary nursing are helping us.
And so far, another 30 cats are due to be chipped in June. The microchips have been supplied by the New Zealand Companion Animal Register, and those behind the scheme say it'll make a difference to the native wildlife in the area around the Orokonui Eco Sanctuary. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Oamaru's Ardgowan School has hosted its annual Technology Challenge Day. The event is designed to challenge years 0 to 3 pupils in the science, technology and maths fields.
Expanding and encouraging young minds. Each year, 5 rural schools come to the Ardgowan campus to learn about technology and interact with other students outside of their usual classrooms.
It's a great opportunity for these rural juniors that often are in smaller class sizes, so they don't have the other children to bounce ideas off, and so this is a great opportunity for collaborative learning, innovative thinking, being creative.
Ardgowan School Assistant Principal Sarah Hatting says as well as inviting schools from around the area, the school also opens its doors to families.
One of the aims is to get the whānau involved in what we're doing here with the rural schools. So there's the opportunity for a home challenge. This year the children designed and built model houses that had specifications that they had to meet. It had a height and it had to have a functioning door, form of ventilation, and had to be really creative.
The year 0 to 3 pupils rotate between 5 different rooms, each filled with a corresponding activity in the STEM fields. Year 3 pupil Emma Shimauchi Moore outlines some of the tasks the pupils have to perform.
We tried putting one block on the table and then put a popsicle stick on top of the block and try and balance 2 cups onto the sides of the popsicle blocks and try stacking them again and again and again and getting them taller.
While 7-year-old Ben Ibister says the group he's working in with Nate Anderson and Mason Wiley have already learnt something really important to construction.
This one right here, we decided to build it on the carpet, which made it harder because it would be harder for it to stick too.
The schools taking part included Totara School, Mahino, Hamden, Five Forks and Kakanui schools. Hatting says Ardgowan invited an expert judge to look over the pupils' work in the design and building categories. In Oamaru, the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a flotation wānanga is held at Karatane and a group of Dunedin horse enthusiasts get on their high hobby horses. So see you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Dunedin school pupils have been looking forward to catching plankton, analysing the autonomy of cockles and mussels and monitoring the health of water at Karatane. The tamariki were hosted by Te Wānanga o Aotearoa and local rūnaka.
Pedalling mighty waka in search of marine life to study as rangatahi learn to be kaitiaki or guardians of the sea.
Tuiai Hiwaiki is our ancient knowledge from our tupuna, and Tuiai Teuru is our Western knowledge, so the sciences. And what that is weaving these two worlds together to share amongst our rangatahi Māori here.
The marine science activity is part of the youngsters' role as coastal caretakers. They immersed themselves in learning outside of the classroom with Te Runaka or Kati Huriapa and the University of Otago Science Wānanga team.
They also are looking at mussels and cockles, what's the makeup, the anatomy of that, looking at how we can be kaitiaki around the spaces of our kaimoana and the moana in general.
The youngsters taking part came from a variety of educators, including Dunedin North Intermediate and Te Kura Kaupapa Māori or Otipoti. Scientist Hannah Raven says the children have a lot of knowledge.
So the general idea is to tie some of the concepts of whakapapa and kaitiakitanga and tie that with marine science and with being coastal caretakers.
The 2 waka were provided for the day by Karatane Māori Tours. In Karatane, the South Today.
A campaign is underway to restore the gravestone of a family plot, which remembers Canterbury's first Victoria Cross recipient. Christchurch reporter Chris Barclay interviewed Korean War veteran Ken Wright about the plight of the earthquake-damaged gravestone.
Henry Nichols, a Victoria Cross winner from the Canterbury Regiment, died in the latter stages of World War I. Unfortunately, after the earthquakes in Christchurch, this is where the family plot that's
some of them are stood up again, but this one isn't. I mean, it looks a mess, and I think for a chap who's got a VC, he deserves a lot better than that, either by the council or by RSA people. Maybe they could take it under their wing. I mean, there's lots of little things you can do with this. Although it's just a chunk of concrete, it could be stood up and displayed a bit better. I was in the Korean War, but that was bad enough. But these people had it 10 times worse, you know. And I'd just like to see something done. Yeah, clean all this, you know, and even put some paint in them, in the names. You know, it's just so they show up better. I mean, it does look a mess, doesn't it? Maybe this will wake somebody up and say, yeah, that's my uncle or my great-granddad. Or you never know, do you? I'd be very appreciative to see that cleaned up, smartened up. They should be remembered.
Oamaru's Rotary Bookarama is being hailed as a success, with about 100 book fans turning up to turn pages. And more than just locals attended the fair, with one person travelling from Hamden for the event.
There were massive queues outside Oamaru Rotary's Bookarama yesterday, before Waitaki District Councillor Jim Hopkins enthusiastically threw the doors open. The massive crowds pleased the organisers.
When we got here at 9 o'clock, there were already people queuing up, and by the time we opened there were probably more than 100 people.
People funnelled into the Rotary Club's sale around 10 a.m. yesterday, some having waited outside since before 8:30 a.m. While the day itself was a huge success, convener Ellie Ludeman says the event has been a while in the planning.
It's been a month-long project. On the 1st of May, Duck Shooting Day, the old boys helped us move all the books from the container to the venue here, and we've been sorting books madly since then. We counted up to about 1 zillion and then gave up counting.
She says many of the books donated this year still had pricing on them from previous year's sales. She says that shows there are many community-minded locals.
The public are really, really generous with their donations, which makes it a wonderful community project. A lot of people bring books and say we'll be back to buy more, and we notice sometimes we price some books and we notice books come back with last year's prices, so we know they've bought them and have brought them back, and then they buy more.
In previous years, the funds raised by the sale went towards Oamaru Hospital's chemotherapy chairs and the Oamaru Kindergarten Association's new van. Ludeman says it was a great team effort between the community and the Rotary. In Oamaru, the South Today.
One Dunedin Pony Club has added a new breed of horse to their collection. The Saddleview Pony Club has recently acquired 6 wooden hobby horses and is using them for teaching and a bit of fun.
It's not quite like riding an Appalachian, but for the Saddleview Pony Club, hobby horsing is a lot of fun. The Pony Club has recently gotten into the sport after watching YouTube videos of the Hobby Horse Championship in Finland. Saddleview Pony Club head coach Kathy Fuller says hobby horsing enables people to learn equestrian rules and skills before riding on a horse.
We run a Riders Without Horses program, and that's so that people that don't have horses, they can actually join Pony Club and be part of it. They can learn about caring for the horses and handling and safety. They get a little bit of a ride from time to time, a little bit of handling with a real horse, and we thought, well, you know, as a head coach, you trying to want to come up with things that engage people and get the kids sort of having a bit more fun while they're still learning and delivering the lesson. They can learn the dressage arena and learn a dressage test. They can learn how to walk a show jumping course, and then they can get out and actually do it.
Hobby horsing has existed since the 1500s and uses a stuffed or carved toy horse head mounted on a stick the rider then straddles. The Pony Club received their 6 new wooden hobby horses thanks to the Mosgill Blokes Shed. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on YouTube and Facebook. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.